started rolling. What is melanin and what is carbon? Tell us about those two minerals, or whatever they are.
Melanin is not a mineral.
Okay.
Melanin is a word that was used to describe a certain biological function. But that particular identification or category or thing, melanin, is a European identification of what they think activates those neurons in our body that makes us black. But when you break down our body, our biological structure, into what we would have to put it in, which is chemistry, biochemistry, melanin has no place. It's not to be found. What is found in the body that is attributed to melanin is carbon. Carbon not only determines the quality of life in black folks, carbon determines the quality of life in every living plant that exists that is natural. If carbon is absent, there's no life. Melanin, what is it? I don't know.
Why are white people trying to get some? It's a Greek word, melanos.
Well, white folks talk about protein. What is protein? They say one of the 19 amino acids, the building blocks of life. But I know for a fact that that is not a true statement. Because protein, if it was the building block of life, what happened to the gorilla that lives 180 years without eating anything that's contained protein? Unless they're going to say that the plants contain protein too. They're always saying things, and because we have no laboratories
Thank you, Chief.
to investigate those things, then we have to swallow it hook, line, and sinker. Miss Frances Welsing mentioned melanin. And I asked her, what is this thing? And I know she could not adequately answer the question because she was trained by someone European. So when you are trained by a European and told these things, you have to regurgitate these things. But no, they are completely in error.
Okay, we're going to take a little break for the phone.
We have to be careful. Remember, it is like a brother recommended that you use comfrey for your bones. That is in the books. From a European philosophical base. But when you look at the comfrey bit, you find that comfrey contains starch. Again, another European philosophy. Melanin falls under the same category. It is a belief, not a reality. I was told in Washington, D.C. that I was violating one of the most sacred code or law of nutrition when I deprive Achilles Stroud of protein. So I asked Dr. Steinberg and Dr. Glutt at the Georgetown Pediatric Hospital, did you give her protein 5 times a day? You did. Was she under your care for 2 years? Yes. Now, she did not receive any of those things that you call protein, and she no longer has sickle cell anemia. So where is the validity of this thing we call protein? Is it equity or is it deficit? We don't know. This is why 닥터세비, when he embarked on this journey of healing, many was asking me, well, why are you so concerned with the scientific aspect of this thing? I say it is necessary not to heal. To heal, it is necessary to understand the scientific aspect of it. But you must understand the herb that corresponds with the disease that is manifesting. And the only way you could do that in the Western world, and to prove that you would be respected as someone that could be of usefulness, is to enhance oneself with the words that describe certain things. And that is the science of biochemistry. I had to, because my challenges would be from a scientific base. And if I didn't understand science, then I would be lost. And they would gain momentum when they should not. So I decided to go into the scientific understanding of these things we call herbs. And what we found, that there is nothing on the planet that assimilate and could be of usefulness, save that substance is electrical. And the only electric substance on the planet is a natural plant. Not comfrey, golden seal, peppermint, aloe vera, and the rest. They're hybrids. But how many brothers and sisters in America or anywhere in the world qualifies to offer a challenge when we have nothing to test that which we are given for validity? No, I do not subscribe to melanin or to comfrey. So we have to again go back to the drawing board. The Usha research disregard the word melanin. For instance, if melanin determined life, why is it then that when people come to us with nerve problems, with energy problems, we give them the substance known as iron, which is a mineral, straining that iron with carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen? The CHO chain is the chain of life. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Melanin has no place in that biochemical structure. So I'm very extremely sorry.
Okay. Let me ask you a question then. What makes the difference between black and white then? Why is it your color and there's somebody else who's not of color?
Well, again, we could easily explain that position. Carbon is the determining factor for your color. The concentration of carbon determines the color black. The higher the concentration of carbon, the greater the color black would express.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
It is carbon, nothing else.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Dr. Sebi, explain to the people watching this tape the word electricity, and how it pertains to its necessity boundaries within the body structure.
Now you see? Now that was the best question that could have been asked. Why? Because if something is of usefulness in my structure, in my biological structure, it must necessarily be electrical. And the only substance that is electrical, that are electrical, are those substances that come from the forest we call the jungle. Because the molecular structure is complete, it's not broken. If something is made by Mother Nature, one could easily use the common sense and see where this stuff is natural, is complete. But if something is made in a laboratory, well, naturally, common sense again shows us it could not be of usefulness. Each mineral on the planet, iron has 12,000 electrons per atom, calcium has 9,000, opium has the specific amount, and so it goes through the whole ramification of life. 142 minerals expresses themselves in a different way because that is necessary to maintain continuity, to maintain that individuality of each plant. The bones is calcium, not the blood. The blood is iron. Now we go back to the question of melanin. Wouldn't it be intelligent to ask one of the promoters of melanin, what is the electromagnetic structure of melanin? What is the amount of electrons per atom that represent this thing we call melanin? Why do we ask the question? Because it is necessary. We want to know, is this thing electrical? Yes. Well, if it is electrical, it has to have a definite amount of electrons per atom, representing that particular thing.
Okay, let me to ask you on that same subject. Let's say the generator that gives us electricity here in this city was cut off, and we wanted to get more electricity. What will we do? Will we stick one end in the ground, or how would we work?
Stick what in the ground?
A wire.
No. What produces electricity?
Electrons.
No way. I was an electrician. I am an engineer. I work in what you call steam generating plants. I have a degree, I have a license in what is known as thermodynamics. We are dealing with physics now. The only thing that produces electricity, the only thing that produces electricity is the friction of copper and carbon. That could be seen in your automobile. Take out your generator and see what it has inside. It has a copper wheel and some carbon brushes that touches against it when it turns. Here's an example. This is the copper wheel in the generating plant that produced the electricity in this room. It is spinning at only 90 revolutions per minute, but against this copper wheel, there are carbon brushes, and this is what you see. The spinning of the copper wheel against the carbon brush creates a friction. That friction is called resonance. Resonance is electricity, not electrons. Resonance. The resonance produces the electrons, not before. So now, if electricity is produced by copper and carbon, the friction of copper and carbon, then where do we go in the human body and find the organ that produces electricity? We find that it's the brain. The brain is the center of motor. The nervous system is the conduit that carries the electricity to various points of the body to cause motion. Now, should we ask, what is the composition of the brain? No. It is made up of what? Carbon and copper. The pineal gland is carbon, and the cerebral cortex, copper.
Does everyone?
We not only find that in a human being, we find that in the eel in Brazil that produces electricity to kill his prey. And when you open the eel, all you find is copper and carbon. No melanin.
Well, does everybody have a pineal gland? I was told the other day that everybody doesn't have one. Is that true or not?
If you had no pineal gland, you would not be alive. You would be in no motion. It's impossible. Every race has pineal glands. Not every race has thymus glands. Oh, that's different.
Oh yeah, well tell us about those.
The thymus glands. The thymus gland regulates sex. It also maintains energy. The thymus gland also keep you childlike, non-aggressive. But in some races, the thymus gland disappears at age 8. Then one becomes violent in one movement. But now, if the thymus gland disappears in some races at age 8, principally the Caucasian, what helps one to retain the thymus gland within the biology? The presence of what? Carbon. Thank you.
He has a question.
Right. So, Dr. Sebi, what you're saying is that due to the way a lot of medical people study medicine in this country and around the world, they don't understand the difference between, say, electricity and something that's electric.
Well, if we are talking about understanding, what do they understand? Because the question needs to be asked. Remember, the time for common sense has arrived. What do they understand? Don't be afraid. We need to ask these questions. What do they understand? No cure for common cold, no cure for diabetes, no cure for cancer, leukemia, sickle cell anemia, AIDS, blindness, diabetes, and no other disease. Well, if the physician clearly shows us that there is no cure for any disease, what do they understand? So we have to throw that understanding of whatever that premise is out the window. Everything that have ever come from the Caucasian, no, from the physician, has to be thrown in the trash because it's of no consequence. What have they done as far as usefulness in reference to pathology? What have they done? What have they reversed? Nothing. So why should a word be authority? No, we can't use them as some level of thinking, development, or seeing. No, we can't do that because they don't have that. They showed us. How old is the medicine that they are practicing today? It is 265 years old. It started with Bombastus von Hohenheim, only because he was prejudiced when he found out that Hippocrates went to Africa to learn his craft. And the fact of the matter is that Mr. Hippocrates, 2,000 years ago, used herbs to cure every disease known to man. If Mr. Hippocrates used herbs to cure every disease known to man, then 2,000 years later, why aren't we doing so? Because the healer has been educated and the substance he used is artificial. And he is totally unaware of that. Why? Because he learned his craft from an armchair position. They call it armchair research, not field research. And that is very, very vitally important to know the herb from a field perspective, from a field position. Why? Because in the year of 1983, I sent Mr. Adisa Akil to St. John Herb Store in Silver Spring, Maryland, and asked him to buy me a pound of bugleweed. Why did I want the bugleweed? Because someone came to me with a very bad heart problem. They call it mitral stenosis. The weakening of the muscle of the heart also exists. I said, buy me a pound of bugleweed because I have to address this particular disease. When I